Hey guys, welcome back to the Cult of Film. I'm Kyle. Today we are once again joined by one of my favorite people from Spooky Tuesday podcast, Ms. Monica. Welcome back.
Hi. So happy to be back. This is so exciting. And we're recording on Halloween, so this feels very fitting and wonderful as well.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, today we're tackling a movie that I've heard about for a few years, and I think I even heard about this many years ago. It's been, those there's movies, there's bands, there's stuff that's always like on the periphery. It's like just outside
Yeah.
your peripheral vision. It's there, but you don't ever like go, oh, hey, what's that? Wish I should check this out. And finally, all of a sudden in the past year, I had four people ask me if I liked The Vanishing from 1988. And I'm like, never seen it. And they're like, you've never seen it? I'm like, no. And like these people were dumbfounded that I had never seen this movie. I'm like, okay, sorry, I'll correct that, and watched it,
It
and
does seem like a movie you would watch. So that
yeah,
makes sense that they would be so scandalized.
yeah, yeah, no, sure, it's European. It's one of the most intense suspense thrillers I've ever seen in my life. It burned itself into the soul of my mind, and I thought, you know
Yeah.
what, I should tell Monica about this and have it haunt her soul just as much as it's haunted mine. So.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. This one fucked me up.
Yeah, this one, I like weird stuff. I like interesting stuff. I like independent. I like European. I like art house. I like existential
Yeah.
stuff. And I've never seen a movie like The Vanishing from 1988. And I'm shocked that for as well known as this movie is, because it was well known enough that it got an American remake. It was a Dutch French co-production, that it was popular enough even when it came out, that it got a American remake. And yet so much of the formula, and I don't mean that in a negative way, so much of how the story unfolds, the points of view, the groundedness of it for such an intense suspense thriller, I'm shocked that I've never seen that replicated in other, at least, again, maybe I'm missing it, but I've never seen it really replicated in other movies. And that surprises me because this movie, for as intense a thriller as it is brilliant. It is one of the
It's
most brilliant movies I've ever seen.
absolutely brilliant. It just, oh my God. And I'm so glad we're doing it because it gave me the opportunity to watch it again. Because you told me about this months ago. I hadn't seen it ever before. I think I might have heard about it, seen it on some lists of horror movies
Mhm.
because, that's my whole steez. But I finally watched it like the day, I think it was the night I got home from a Euro trip. So really trying to uh, ride that European high, continue it
Sure,
on. And so I
sure.
was jet lagged as all hell. And so the first time I watched this, it was honestly an interesting experience because I was so sleepy. I was like coming in and out of consciousness that turned
Ooh,
this into this like horrific nightmare. Like
right.
really, and I missed a lot of it because of that. Like I woke up at one point, and it was right after the big reveal of what had happened. Not like the final reveal, but
Right.
right after the reveal of how Saskia was snatched.
Hmm.
And I was like, Adam, we need to rewind to the 10 minutes I just missed. And he was like, no, how dare you? Because this is the most like gripping moment of the
Right.
film at that point. But like
Right.
we rewound and I was just like immediately wide awake. The last 30 minutes of this movie
Oh,
will just like rip
yeah.
you into pieces. But watching it today with a clear mind, I was terrified going into it because I remembered how just awful I felt after the last time. But
Right.
there's so many little details, so many through lines throughout the whole movie, like the poignancy of her nightmares that were plaguing her at the beginning
Right.
of the film and how those are predicting what will happen throughout the rest of it. It's just brilliantly done, and it's really interesting too how it kind of like only orients you on the timeline, like, based on the Tour de France. Like,
Right.
it never really tells you where you are or what's a flashback and what's not, and you kind of just have to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the best movies I've probably ever seen. But I won't recommend it to people who aren't ready to take on something big
Yeah,
because
yeah. This is if you're
oof,
not someone who is, and for as much as you and I are big horror movie fans, this movie isn't. It's not a proper horror film, but it is intensely psychologically horrific. So if you're the type of
psychological
person like I
horror.
like to sometimes just watch fun horror movies, just sometimes having stuff to play in the background, stuff that's just like comfort horror from my childhood or my teenhood. This is
Mhm.
not one of those movies. It's an
No.
intense psychological thriller, and you really have to be in a particular. You have to be aware of that, and you've got to be really prepared. I think for a
And you
movie like.
gotta be yeah, prepared to pay attention too, because it's like it's a slow burn and it's like a masterclass in building existential dread.
Yeah.
Like so many horror movies these days take that route where they're just trying to make you really anxious the whole time. And so like I love that type of a slow burn, but this one I feel like is like the holy grail
Oh,
of existential dread. It's just,
the
oh my
suspense
God,
is
it's
the
on
suspense
so
is so
many
intense.
levels. Mm,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, this
that's
the suspense is so tense and taut throughout the entire thing that there's moments where there were a couple times where I watched it on a Criterion channel. I had to pause it just to go,
exactly same here.
okay, and
Exactly
then
same here. It took me
back
like
in.
2.5 hours to watch this movie, like maybe three
Right.
hours to watch this movie this morning because I had to just take some time. Because like as a woman watching it too, it's uh extra really
Yeah.
horrifying, I feel, just because I don't know, I really related to Saskia's character
Sure.
and like Saskia and Rex going on this beautiful vacation together. It's so sweet. They're cycling, they're listening to the Tour de France. It just like hit me personally. Like my fiance and I love to travel through Europe. We always like rent bikes when we're out there. Like I don't know, like we want to go on a trip to see the Tour de France, which was part of what they were doing. And
Well,
then like
I think
I
this is the
love
most
to talk to
effective.
strangers.
This is the
So
most
I'm
effective
like, oh my
thing.
God.
Everything that you just described, the reason it's so effective is because it feels like real life. Everything that you said, it's
Yeah,
like this, I do that, I could feel this, I could feel that. Everything is so grounded. It feels so
totally.
real. It's not shot in a very stylized cinematic way. There are beautiful shots because it's shot in France, and you've got this jump between sort of like the sort of roadside highway gas station, petrol station, and some of the more residential and then country spaces that are really beautiful. But it's not meant to be shot as sort of like this beautiful, cinematically composed movie. It's shot not super like found footage, but it's very grounded. It feels very real. You feel like you could be right there with Rex and Saskia in their car at the petrol
Yeah.
station. You feel like you could be behind them getting a coffee inside, the station paying for gas,
Mhm.
or even the character of is it Lemon? Lemon,
The
this
shopkeeper?
quasi no the Jesus. So I'm going to make my French is terrible. Um,
Oh,
Lemorne.
I can't speak it at all.
Yeah, Lemorne. I would say I don't want to reveal too much, but the quasi antagonist, Lemorne, the French guy, it
Mhm.
feels so grounded, and I think that's why people say, "Oh, this movie's so scary." I don't think we're all necessarily using the right word. It's not scary in that we're going through dark corners and we can hear noises. It's anticipation. It's the taut tension of not necessarily knowing what's going to happen while simultaneously sort of getting a view of um, this predator's life and this predator's point of view. And we should
Yeah.
set up that essentially what this movie is about. It's about Rex and Saskia, a couple of young people from Netherlands, Holland, that are driving through France on vacation, on holiday. And you
Mhm.
could tell that they love each other. You could tell that they're just regular people. Like you said, Saskia is having night terrors. They have an incident where they blow out a tire or something on the side of the road, but it's a busy
They
road.
run out of gas
Yeah,
in
they
a
run out of gas.
tunnel.
That's right. And he kind of leaves her in the night to go get gas. And you can, you get a sense of why she doesn't want to be left alone because it's also kind of a busy road, but he has to go and get the gas. Otherwise, once Dawn
Oh, that
comes
part
and there's
was
more track. There's so
horrible.
many little layers of making it feel like a real relationship, like everybody can relate to. It's very universal. Then they get to the petrol station and they have some moments there, like you said. They're listening to the Tour de France. They're playing around. They're being very romantic with each other. I think that's probably the other pin in this. I think that makes it so effective is I absolutely believe the love between these two people. They absolutely
Yeah,
are
totally.
each other.
They make you fall in love with them, like,
Yeah.
in those first, like, whatever, however long it is, 20 minutes. But,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that that tunnel scene is such an important scene because it sets up everything that happens later on in this movie. Like, that's where she reveals her dream, her nightmare just before then, that she is in this egg, a golden egg floating around in complete nothingness and is unbearably lonely, and then she's been having this dream forever, and then all of a sudden she has a new dream, and there's Rex also in an egg, also in this nothingness, but they're sort of together. And it's so random. You're like, okay,
Right.
what does that mean? Interesting, you know? But it's everything to this movie. So
Oh
much
yeah.
so, like, even later on, I mean, this is getting into spoiler territory, so close your ears or go watch the movie and then come back. But,
Right.
like, something I didn't pick up on the first time I watched this was, like, the eggs are the coins also that they bury underneath the tree. And,
Right.
like, the dirt that they bury the coins in is the nothingness or whatever. And it's also literally, like, what happens to them later on. Like, oh god, it's such
Right.
haunting
Some of the
imagery.
most brilliant foreshadowing again that I've ever seen. Because you're watching it in the beginning, it's like, oh no, it's two young people madly in love with each other, making a promise to each other. So they bury these coins at this random roadside gas station, and they won't think anything of it again. And then it comes full circle, and it's like, oh man, it hits so hard. It hits so hard.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god. And also I think another part of that tunnel scene that's so important is that, like, it shows their, like, it has their trust break in that moment,
Mhm.
because, like, watching that, I was fucking furious with Rex. I was like, "What are you doing? You're just trying to be tough, leaving her there. It is a very dangerous situation. There isn't any light or whatever, and he just
Right.
left her even though she was crying and freaking out." Um, which leads to that one of the most haunting scenes or shots of the film later on, once he's finally back and they're coming through the tunnel and it's just her in the center of the circle in the light. And that's just, I don't know, so symbolic of, like, she's the light at the end of the tunnel for him. She, like, the tunnel is the whole rest of his life searching for her. There's so much there. But it also leads to them having that conversation once they get to the petrol station, where she makes him do the pledge, where she's like, "I promise to never abandon Saskia." And so he makes that promise to her, and he can't. He can never abandon her
Right. And
after she's gone, and it ruins
and
his life.
she literally vanishes, which is the whole crux of the movie.
Yes.
And he holds on to that promise, and for the next 3 years within the movie, he is not abandoning her. He is searching for her, and again, a really brilliant approach to this type of a movie,
Yeah.
where you're focused on, okay, I feel like so many films, I feel like from Hollywood would be focusing on Saskia, and Saskia, trying to evade, she's kidnapped, she's trying to evade her kidnapper, she's trying to evade this horrible situation, and
Hmm.
it tilts it the other way, and it puts the onus of the plot on the people who are left wondering, where is
Yes.
she?
Yes.
Why? What
Exactly.
did I do something wrong? Is she alive? Is she dead? Did she fall out of love with me and couldn't tell me? Just that sort of unbearable. See, that to me is far more horrific than any sort of splatter movie, any type of gory film you could show me,
Totally.
because I know that that's not real. But we've
Yeah.
all been in a situation where I think more people can relate to a situation where someone's there and then they're not. And if you don't get resolution for that,
No
either
closure.
relationship or friendship, or if you've ever lost someone unexpectedly and not know why, or someone just disappears and you just have no idea. That is the worst. That's hell on
Yeah.
earth.
No, I totally agree with you. And I also think the choice of the director to leave us in the without the knowledge. We have the same amount of knowledge as Rex throughout
Right.
the entire movie until it switches perspectives and we start learning about Lemon, how Raymond. Let's call him Raymond. That will be
Yeah.
easier for me. um, but like I love that we have no idea and neither does he, and so you feel that same disconnect, that same like yearning for more knowledge. I mean, one of the best quotes in the whole movie is when he's speaking to his new partner, Linique. No one knows how to say that
The
word. You know
Lineke?
how
Yeah,
Linique?
I think so.
She's drop
My
dead
Dutch is
gorgeous.
about as good as my French, so
Got literally no idea. But he's speaking to her and he's like, I don't know. Like in my mind, sometimes I think she's still alive. She's outliving her life. But he's basically like, he would rather like kill her in her mind. I'm using scare quotes if you can't see me.
right.
To know what happened. Like if he doesn't know what happened to her, he can believe that she's alive, living her life. She's moved on. She's doing other things. And that's what it was.
Hmm.
But to know what happened is to kill her because he'll have to find out that she's dead, to kill her in his mind, if that makes sense. And I thought that that was a really interesting line too, because he was like, I have to do that because I have to know. I can't not know. I can't imagine this beautiful scenario where she's fine and everything's okay because I know it's not true. There's no way that that's true. And I
Right.
need to know the dark, terrible truth. Whew,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so
Again, these are
haunting.
very, very intelligent characters too. I love that you get to see that thought process for Rex. There's never He knows he wants to evade what could be a terrible truth, but he won't allow himself to do that because if he does, in a way, he's kind of abandoning that promise. And he said he would never
Yeah.
abandon her. So he has to do it. He has to keep going. And
Mhm.
yeah, like even despite the fact that he's technically in a new relationship, um, that is like, okay, wow, what an amazing person Leniki might be that she is tolerating this. She
Yeah.
obviously loves him. At the same time, how can you, Rex, do that to someone? You know what I mean? It's a tough thing because I'm not trying to judge him because I sympathize with it. Like there's
Mhm.
this thing that's in the back of his mind that's always there. I don't know what happened, so I understand. It's very
And it
interesting.
doesn't help that he's being tormented by the killer sending him these messages,
Right,
taunting him.
right.
Oh my
This is
god, so
This is
sick.
the most evil antagonist I think I've ever seen in a movie. He just
And he's so mundane. Oh my god.
so
He's
mundane, which
just a
makes it
guy.
so much more real. He's not
Yes.
Hannibal Lecter, he's not Freddy, he's not Dracula. There's no theatrics here. There's nothing necessarily um, dramatic and sort of mysterious
No.
about it. And again, that's why this movie is so effective and why it's so damn, for lack of a better word, scary, horrific, intense, and suspenseful. Because
Yeah.
it feels way
Dreadful.
more real. It feels way more. And
It
any of
feels
us, those of us that are into true crime and all of that, that tends to be the way it goes. It's rare that you get a Richard Ramirez. It's mostly these guys. It's almost always a guy
Mhm.
that seemed very strange, but almost harmless. Just
Yeah.
schlubby guys. And again, that's why it's so effective. So again, praise to George Sluzer and the team to put this together because again, I've never seen anything like it. I feel like it might be not impossible, but pretty difficult to try to pull something like this off. Because if you tried to remake this now, they take a super hot A-list handsome guy and try to ug him up, but it's still not going to work the same as if you just
Oh,
had a regular actor play it.
that
So
that's what happened with the 1993 remake. And that's something I thought was so interesting that I saw in my research. It's the same director who did the American remake.
really, okay,
It's
I've never
George
seen the remake.
Clooney. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I
Oh,
just was it was just in this article, and it also said that The Grudge, the American remake, was the same director as the original The Grudge. Didn't know that. Not the same
oh, that
director
I
as
did
this,
know. Yeah,
but just that I didn't know. And then also Funny Games, the American and the European were the same director too. So I just had never heard of that. So maybe I would watch the American remake of this. But they said that they changed the end. I do not know what they changed the end to. How
right.
dare you touch this film? It's perfect.
It's perfect.
I get mad whenever there's an American remake, though. Like I didn't go See No Evil because
Well,
the
okay, first of all,
the
the
OG
original
was
See No
so
Evil
good.
came out. What did it come out 3, 4 years ago? Now we're already
It came
making.
out like I know,
And
but that's kind of what they did
I'm
with
not
this.
anti remakes. I love the original Ring, and I love the American remake of the
I
Ring. I
love the
love the
American Ring.
original
Yeah,
Grudge, and I love the remake of the Grudge. I had no problem with it,
yeah.
but it's
I'm like, give people a
totally
chance to watch the OG first.
right. No, exactly. And I believe the OG Speak No Evil is on Shutter right now. For those of you
Yeah,
that are Shutter subscribers, it's on my queue. I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, that's another thing. I
another one
remember.
that will make you feel dreadful, like this one. So be
Yeah,
prepared.
that's what I've heard. Speaking of remakes, I had watched the entire Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy, the original Swedish one with Noomi Rapace,
Oh,
back like 10 years ago on like old school Netflix, and was blown away. I think there's like 3 or 4 movies, and they're all excellent. And
yeah,
then boom, I think 3 years later they did a remake. I'm like, but people, I could understand back in the day when maybe European or Asian films weren't easily accessible because we didn't have streaming back in the day. I can
yeah.
understand why you would maybe remake that for a North American audience or a more Western audience, but these things are available everywhere now, and it's to read. And again, I'm not against remakes. I'm one of the few
Yeah,
people that I adore the movie, the 1977 Dario Argento classic Suspiria, and I also adore Luca
the new one
Guadagnini's
rocks.
2018 remake because
It rocks.
he did not try to redo what Dario Argento did. He did
Exactly.
it his way, and it worked.
Yes. Yeah.
So there are ways to remake things, but you're right. It's like, okay, this was just made 5 years ago in X European country.
Yeah.
Now we're redoing this. Yeah, I don't know.
I
I mean,
just it makes me mad because but it isn't an accessibility thing. It makes the film in the broadest sense more accessible because then people will watch it because they don't have to read and they just want to watch a movie, whatever. I get that. But so often, not The Ring, not The Grudge. There are really good American remakes, but so often they suck so hard, and then everyone watches the American remake and they're like, that sucks. And then they're never going to watch the original. I'm talking about Good Night Mommy here. That's specifically what grinds my gears. The remake
okay.
sucked. Sorry,
I
Naomi
don't I don't
Watts.
I don't
And
know
the
either. I
OG
know the
is
movie, but I've never.
incredible.
Okay.
Oh, it's fucked up. It's really
It's
fucked up.
Swedish,
I
right?
really, really enjoy it. Yeah, it's the same directors that did The Lodge, if you saw that. Um, they love to do very disturbing films as well.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
the lodge. Was that the one with the mother and the child in the lodge?
The Lodge was with Alicia Silverstone for a second, and then also Riley Keough is in it, and it's like Riley Keough's watching these kids. Oh, Riley Keough is a stepmom, and the husband goes somewhere, and she's with the two kids, and weird stuff starts happening.
Oh
It's
no, I did see this. I did see this.
yeah,
Yeah,
I liked.
that that ending was so dark. I'm
Oh
like,
my
okay,
god, it was so fucked up.
I'll never
Yeah,
watch that movie
they
again. There's just
they love to do horrible things. That
oof.
director
Yeah,
duo, but they do it well.
they got under my skin there for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Goodnight Mommy will do the same. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I'd love to watch the American remake for this one just because I'm
Sure,
curious, see
sure.
what the director would do. But was with like A-list actors. Like, was it Kiefer? I can't remember now.
I've got it right
Um,
here. It's Jeff Bridges,
that's what it was.
Sandra
Is Jeff
Bullock,
Bridges?
and Kiefer Sutherland.
It was Kiefer. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ugh.
it's again. and this is nothing against those actors, but when you see like sort of the original source material, it there's something about it depends on the type of actor. Again, I like all these folks here, but I
Mm.
think when you're sort of a movie star type of actor, as opposed to like a I don't know how to describe it, it can take me out a little bit. Like I have a hard time watching sometimes the same people over and over in everything that comes out because I it's hard for me to sort of give over to believing that that's them, if that makes any sense. Whereas
Yeah.
like
No,
something like
I
The
agree.
Vanishing, don't know any of these actors, and that's what makes it even more effective because it could
Yeah,
just
yeah.
anybody.
The
But again,
anonymity that comes with that's some of the reason why like watching a European horror film can hit even harder too, because like we're not necessarily going to be as familiar with these actors that aren't in our films every day, just on the whole. So, no, I totally agree with you there. It just made it feel all the more like something that could really happen because is
right,
something that could really happen. As a
right,
woman, you
no,
could get snatched. You could get snatched very easily. And it's just so horrifying watching this man, Raymond's character, take the time, being
oh,
so methodical, honing his craft to become, to do just this one time. It's like it this one kill that he's
right,
doing and then torturing poor Rex for years afterwards.
right,
But like it's it's so interesting all the math he's doing cuz he's a smart guy. And
yes.
so he's doing all this math to make sure the mileage makes sense and the timing and all this stuff. Oh my god. And also one of the parts that just gets to me the most was the way that moments with his children and
Oh,
his family were incorporated into his actual snatching of Saskia, and also just for inspiration, and how like he practiced some of his moves on his daughter, like when he was locking the door and put her in the headlock, and he's like ha ha ha, and she's like what the hell, dad.
well, that was
And
something that.
when
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, the presents that he got, like when he actually grabbed Saskia, all of the presents that he got from his family, he used as tools to take her. The
Right.
tiles, the box of tiles from his wife, he was like, "Oh, that's where all the keychains are." He's wearing the sweater that his elder daughter got him,
Yep.
and the keychain from his younger daughter is what lures her in. And then also the photo album they put together is what reminds him of the cast
Yes.
to seem like he's less threatening. Oh my god,
It's
that was
almost
just so scary to
creepier to
me.
me. It's creepier to me that he comes from a family of all women. You have his wife and his
Yes.
two daughters, and the fact that it's so like knowing what he's trying to do as the film goes along, as he's sort of like measuring things and trying to figure out the right lines to use on these women when he goes into the city, and because he's trying to do it. It's like he's
Yeah.
practicing, and then watching him go home the same damn day and talking to his young daughters, and just there'd be times where like you could see him just looking on to one of his daughters, and I'm just like, don't hurt her. It was just
I
like, like
know.
you like in most movies you would get that breathing room because he's not out in the streets of Paris or whatever it is, him running the practice, running the drills, and then he comes home and chills out. And so it was so difficult for me in those scenes where they're just eating dinner or they're just around the table talking or whatever. For me to, I'm like, oh my god, like that entire house is up for grabs. But it isn't, and it's again the brilliance of the writing that this
No.
guy has compartmentalized. I don't believe he'd ever
No,
touch a
he'd never
hair.
hurt his family. I
No,
thought that was such an
no.
interesting characterization. The way that they wrote him was so interesting. Like he says he's a sociopath, right? And
Mhm.
like his inspiration to do this, to do this horrible act was, I guess, and if I misunderstood this, let me know. But because this was a part I was definitely asleep for the first time, but this time I was like, oh, how interesting is really important to the film. The fact that he was a hero in that moment when he saved that young girl who was drowning. He
Yes.
was a hero and he
Yeah.
didn't he hesitated for 1 second, but then he didn't hesitate to save her or whatever. And then his daughter was like, "You're a hero, you're a hero." And he was like, "Well, if I'm a hero, then I could never do anything bad." And in that moment, he's like, "What's the worst possible thing that I could do?" And he thought of this. And then he was like, because he had that thought, it's the same thing as him jumping off of he doesn't have impulse control in the same way as other people, I guess. Same
Right.
way as he jumped off the balcony. He's like, everybody thinks, oh, I should jump off the balcony, but they
Right.
don't. And he was like, but I did. So it's the same thing. He thought of this horrifying thing he could do. And he's like, oh, I could do that.
Well, again, it
Thinking
speaks.
about it all the time, and it became his life.
No, exactly. It speaks to the depth and breadth of brilliance in the writing, that he has that perfect mask, that within
Yeah.
his family he can do no wrong, because and there are witnesses, and there's somebody whose life he has saved that can attest to his heroism and his pure benevolence. So it's airtight. His,
Yeah.
the alibi is airtight while he goes about his days and occasional nights, and basically plotting, figuring ways to victimize all these women. And it's, again, really brilliant that there's
It was,
never a
yeah.
moment where he does that, that with the
No.
behind the cowl ever. And I just,
Yeah.
it's so brilliant, because I feel like very few directors today would do that. It would be super moody and shadowy, and we'd probably get some tortured aspects of his life. We don't get much sympathy about him, because, at least, from we have, like you said, we have that glimpse of him as a child deciding to jump off the balcony, but we don't get a ton of insight into why he's messed up, which is good, because it just goes to show that,
Yeah.
what is it?
He's like, I just am.
Some people, yeah, like some sociopaths or psychopaths, I'm not sure which classification, one is born and the other is made. And sometimes it's just with human beings, sometimes the wiring is just screwy. And I
No, I think
appreciate
that's
that
the
they
case for
didn't
him.
try to make him sympathetic. They
No.
just made
Yeah.
him interesting and grounded and real, which is what makes this movie,
Yeah.
oh, so damn intense.
It's so it's so insane. Another part that I didn't really feel the full depth of the first watch was the vision that Rex has um when he goes. I guess they are at the house that Saskia and Rex were gonna go to on their vacation. And he has that vision of what it would have looked like. Is that where they were when they were in Andor?
Wait, say that again. What was the part?
There's this vision that Rex has where he's walking with Linique. Sorry if I said that wrong. Up this hill, and he has this vision of him and Saskia. Like he sees their car with the bikes on top, same outfit, same day, driving up the hill to this house, and she's like, "We're here." And then he chases after the car, that's not actually there, and I think it's like that was where they were gonna go on their vacation. So he's like seeing
Right.
what would have happened if they'd made it out of the petrol station. And then he has that sort of like mental break almost where he has the vision again and he's writhing around and he's just saying golden egg, because he's like seeing that
Right.
dream once again. He was having that dream. And
Yeah.
so that's what inspired him to like re-up the search, because he had that dream and he was like, she had this dream the night before she went missing, and I had this dream now.
Well,
Um,
it's a clever device. What that? Yeah, I do. I recall that. It's that beautiful thread of I sort of ideal romanticism, that
yeah,
these two people are meant to be together and they are inextricably linked, um, whether they're physically together or they're separated. Again, another really brilliant move on the part of the writers, one
yeah.
of which is the director. So yeah, no, that was effective.
It was super effective, and it just like, I don't know, it really speeds up the rest of the rest of the movie, because like that's the catalyst I feel like for Linika to leave him because, yeah, girl, he's got like she just
Yeah,
like she
yeah.
says, I don't want a menage a trois. Yeah, like he's not in a place where he can be just with you, and
Right.
I don't think that she might not be like able to be a partner to someone who's had a partner die like that too. I think like you have to leave some space for them to talk about them still and that sort of a thing. So I don't know. I think she's left
Well,
enough
and
as she could, and
something I'd
she's
like
like
to
she can't
mention,
anymore. Yeah.
even when we get the big reveal,
Mhm.
um, even when we get the big reveal, that's still not the end.
Yeah.
And and again, is she alive? Is she dead? Maybe she's not. You do get a resolution on that question, but even
Mhm.
then, that's not the nail in the coffin. Like that, and we don't have to necessarily share it. I feel so bad for my producer Brian, who hasn't seen any of these movies. So to the extent that
Close
we
your
can,
ears.
yeah, yeah.
The sound will be fine,
And
Brian, and we'll talk about the
I'm not
end.
gonna articulate the final sort of nail in the coffin, the end of it at all. I don't think we need to. I think that we've set the table enough that people will want to see this movie just because it's so brilliantly done. It's so interesting. It's so unique. It's a masterclass on so many levels. But even when you get that resolution and you find out what actually happened,
It's not a resolution.
it's a resolution, but
It's
it
a
isn't.
resolution.
And then there's
But
more.
usually resolution makes you feel better.
Well,
This
right,
makes you feel the worst you've ever felt in your life, maybe. This was one of my
but
worst
there's
feelings from a
definitely
movie.
even after that, there's even more. Like so many
Yeah.
movies like we get that thing, we get that climax, and then we move on to sometimes you get a climax and you get the falling action. Here, it's a right hook and then gut punch. I kind of feel. And I'm not. If you want to articulate what it is, I don't want to be the one to ruin it for anybody because everyone should see this movie, even if you only watch it once. It's so good. There's things that we've sort of articulated here that you can look for. I don't think it ruins the movie at all. But again, I'm thinking now maybe on stuff I saw that's from the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. I've never seen a suspense thriller crafted like this. There's always there's never. I've seen grounded thrillers. I've seen really great suspense thrillers, but I've never seen
Yeah.
an antagonist crafted like this. I've never seen a groundedness like this. I've never seen. That's the thing is the antagonist and the protagonist, the beautiful couple. They're on equal footing in terms of, again, to your point, it just feels so real. I can relate to everyone, including the antagonist. I could. I mean, I've known people in my life that are just like him, and I've known people just like Rex and Saskia, and so that's why it makes so many of these. I think so many of these certain punches that come along in the movie just more, again, effective.
Yeah, and I also think there's something we can't really discuss unless we talk about the ending, but there are great questions that are brought up in this movie about like predestination versus
Sure,
free choice,
sure.
what free will with the dreams that happen and the choice that Rex has to make
Mm,
between knowing as much as he knows and knowing everything and truly knowing what happened to his love
right.
and the sacrifices he has to make to do that. And I mean, we talked about the foreshadowing with that dream.
Right.
And them both having the dream, like, was there ever a way for him to get out of this?
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
That threat is certainly there, and all of the pieces are there, and like you said, it threads all the way through, but it doesn't hit you over the head. That's another thing that
No, no.
I'd be wondering. I'd wonder if a contemporary director would be able to so effortlessly put those, because they're not super in your face, those bits and pieces, until you
Mhm.
go back and you rewind. It's like, oh shit, that was. there, and you can sort of put it all together. I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that he isn't, putting it in our faces, and the restraint. I did just the video before this. I talked about, if you look at the films, Halloween from '78, Exorcist from '73, Jaws from '75, and Poltergeist from '82. All of them, all of them are master classes in restraint. You don't see the shark until the end. You don't ever get any
Yeah.
blood in Halloween. You don't get a lot of graphic killing in Halloween. It's all shadows and setup, and yeah, there's some jump scares. With The Exorcist, it's 45 minutes before shit starts to happen. It's all set up for like half the movie, which is what makes the other half so incredible. Poltergeist as well. It's a ghost story, so you can't be shocking people every 10 minutes. This is what The Vanishing does so well.
Yeah.
It's restrained in the things that it could have punched out at you, like, hey, look at this. Wow, that's important. You're going to want to know this for later. It doesn't do that. And whether you
No.
notice some of those things or not, like certain things you and I didn't notice in our first watch, it didn't in any way impede my ability to be affected and to enjoy the movie, because you get to that end, you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
wow.
Pit in your stomach, just like,
just like just like that, huh? Whoa, amazing. And so again, it's a restraint. The Again, this is also not a gory film. It's not a. I don't think
no.
there's a. Is there a single drop of blood in the entire film? I don't think there is. I don't think we see any violence.
Maybe because I've noticed this, like right after Rex meets Raymond for the first time and he punches the shit out of him,
Oh
there's
yeah,
like something on his shirt and it might be one drop of blood. So he might get literally one drop of blood, but that's
right.
it.
But again, and again, it's a beautifully crafted psychological thriller that, where many movies like this might have to have the, or there would be pressure. We need a scene of some
Mhm.
torture. We need a scene of him,
No.
killing one woman after another, and these terrible things. We don't have any of that, but it's far more effective that we don't see these things. It's all in here. It's
Well, it
all
just
in here.
it makes it so incredibly real.
Yes.
This is at the way this whole thing played out, every detail that you see, the fact this is a family man, the way that the movie ends, not the climactic end, the
Right.
mundanity that comes directly after it. Like
Yes.
what could be going on just below the surface with anyone at any time. Like it's just so terrifying. Doing the most mundane thing, getting a beer at a convenience store could be
Yep.
the end of your life. The most random guy on the street could be the psycho killer that you're worried that
Right.
he is, or the sociopath in this case that you're worried that he is. It's like, again, as a woman, it's so hard to find the line between being paranoid
Mm-hmm.
and protecting yourself.
Sure.
And this movie reminded me that, like, maybe be a little more paranoid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe have your guard up a little bit more sometimes, because it really can happen. It could be any person,
Right.
could be
No.
anyone.
Right. And again, speaks to, while that's incredibly scary and an unfortunate reality of the world, it's a brilliant play that's been made, within this movie. And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
absolutely brilliant, incredibly effective.
something that I guess this could lead us to our our resolution for this
Yeah.
episode. And because I've been kicking this around, and you're way smarter than I am, so maybe you'll have a better answer, because I don't think I have
Please,
one.
Kyle, come on.
You're
Don't say that.
you're clever. One of the
You're
things that
clever.
I try to do in these episodes that we've done, and I've done with others, is, okay, what is the double feature with this movie we've just
Oh.
reviewed?
Ugh.
And because there's sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna watch. Okay, we review Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, what's the double feature? Well, Temple of Doom. But something like The Vanishing, it's so in a class of its own. It is so a singular masterwork of film, a film one and of its genre on the other.
Yeah.
I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to find a film that I don't know if it's possible to do a double bill with.
Honestly, well, okay, here's my joke answer. My answer is you watch this movie first, and then afterwards you get a cup, and the double feature is a cup of whiskey neat, and you sip it, and you look out the window and watch the cars pass by, and you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
shake a little bit. So that's a good double feature,
yeah,
because this
yeah,
one will take the wind out of your sails. But if
yeah.
you really want to have the worst night of your life, I honestly think that there is we already talked about it weirdly, but Speak No Evil
Oh,
does have um the type of like mundane horror vibes as well, and similar energy, I would say. I don't know if it's just because we just talked about it, but I honestly think tonally there could be similar things going on. Again, it's been a
that
couple
makes
years since I've
sense.
seen that one.
And
Um,
I haven't seen the remake or the original, but I'll take your word for it. And it kind of makes sense because I think they're both Dutch productions, aren't they?
or are they both Dutch? Let me look it
I
up.
I'm yeah, I'm not sure. I know that The Vanishing is Dutch French. See,
Have
no,
I been saying "see no evil"? It's "speak no evil." I'm pretty sure.
Speak No
I'm so
Evil. Yeah,
sorry.
no, I think I might have
My
said it.
bad.
No, it's okay. 20. Oh my God! Speak No Evil, the
2022.
original one. Okay, no, this is 2022. Speak No Evil
Yeah,
original.
that's the OG. That's it. Christian Tafdrup. That's the director.
Okay, and Danish, Dutch, English. So it's a Danish Dutch co-production, I guess. Or no, release. Oh, okay. It looks like maybe Denmark, but there's Dutch elements to it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. No, I can see maybe that it being attached to its nation of origin, uh, or the vanishing's nature nation of origin. That would probably maybe how maybe how they do things over there. That might work. But I'm definitely going to watch it now because I just want to know. But no,
Yeah.
to your point, the
Let me
pairing
know
of
what
this
you think.
being a double whiskey, uh, you might need a
You
double
can have a
whiskey.
rock in
In
it if
fact,
you want.
my recommendation is to do what I did. I watched this in the middle of the day in broad daylight, and then I followed it up with a comedy special afterward because there was
Yeah.
I could I again I'm a big boy. There's not much that bothers me, but I watched this in broad daylight, and it's haunted me for months. I
Oh,
can't imagine what it would have been like. Yep, finishing it up at 10 o'clock at night. Okay, I'm going to bed. There's no way.
no.
There's no way. And
Yeah.
there's very
Follow it up
little
with
that
Muppet
can
Treasure
unsettle.
Island or something.
Yeah, yeah. There's very little that can unsettle me. But this movie did it. But it did it in a brilliant way, and that's why I think it's worth watching. But no,
Oh yeah.
speak
It's a
no evil.
must watch. Really a unique movie that I'm sure inspired so many movies that we've seen.
Yeah, and I'd want to go down the rabbit hole
Me
and find out
too.
what those movies are. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the remake, and I want to see if maybe there's movies that I've missed that are maybe more directly influenced by this film. Because again, I feel like we over here kind of have a particular approach to a suspense thriller, a psychological thriller, psychological horror film, but I've never seen the elements of this film and the way this was done in
Mhm.
more contemporary stuff. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, starting with the 90s remake of this for sure.
Yeah, no, let me know if it's worth the watch. I mean, it's a great
Sure.
lineup of actors there, so I'm sure that'll be at least interesting. But
Yeah, it sounds. I'm
yeah.
intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by it. So there's that. But
This is
hey,
getting me to want to watch Funny Games, honestly. Just like because
I
it's the double director doing the European
oh yeah, okay, yeah. Well, you know what? I
and the
would
US
like to
remake.
watch those. What is it? Funny Games and Goodnight Mommy. I'll watch the original versions of those because I haven't
Yeah.
seen. So thanks for
Those,
that. I'll add
yeah,
that to.
definitely Good Night Mommy. The Funny Games I hear is one of the most fucked up things ever. So like I haven't seen it yet. Proceed with caution. Is all I'm saying.
I'll tell you this. When we'll leave it here. On it's a disturbing movie, but I even more disturbing talk about something I can't watch again. I can watch The Vanishing again. What I can't watch is, what is it? There's something about the Johnsons, a 2011 film. I believe
My
it's
God.
Ari Aster.
No
Oh my
one
God.
needs to watch that twice. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that. Oh
no
my
way.
God.
No way. Like
No.
Ari Aster, I like his work. I loved Hereditary. I think he's brilliant. But I watched that. I'm like, dude,
It was
you didn't have
fucked
to
up.
do that. Wow.
Yeah. It's 30 minutes that'll make you feel real bad, real bad. I
Yeah.
watched
Let
it and
me
I was
take
like,
us out.
well, I guess I did that. I guess I did that for science. Thank
Well,
you, Ari, you sick fuck.
yeah, yeah, you brilliant sick fuck. But yeah, well, I guess we'll leave it on that horrible note. But thanks for coming back on,
Of
Monica.
course.
Thanks for cinematically traumatizing yourself and for the sake of the
Anytime.
podcast. It's always fun talking with you. I love I love just hearing your takes on things. I think you're
I
one of
love
the
hearing yours.
there's so many movie podcasts out there, but Spooky Tuesday and you guys are a cut above, and I enjoy it.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Well, I love coming on here. You always show me a movie that I'd never seen before that I always was like, oh, I don't know. Well, The Vanishing you told me about, but like Night of the Living Dead and all that. I'd heard
Right.
of that obviously, but I
Sure.
was like, what's going to be the catalyst to make me do it? And it's Kyle. He makes me watch the great films that I've been sleeping on. So The Vanishing is a must watch if you know, appreciate cinema. So
Yeah, and during the day, and followed with the
during the
comedy
day.
and whiskey. So
Yeah,
there's
with
that.
someone to hug right after. That's really important.
Yeah,
You need
definitely.
like a nice, really big bear hug after this one. I
Yeah,
think I'm gonna go get
I
one
had
right
a
now.
dog in each arm after that one, so it was
Yeah,
good.
seriously. Air hug to you, Kyle.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah. No, thank you. And yeah, if there is anything in the vein of The Vanishing out there that you guys are watching, please comment below if there's something we're
Yeah.
missing, if there's something like this that we should be checking out, if there's something that's, I don't know, completely original that both of us have never spoken on, please comment
Yeah.
below. Please like, subscribe if you liked and enjoyed. And we will see you in the next one. But before we go, quick shout out for Monica. Where can everybody find you and
Yes.
your self?
So if you want to follow me, I'm at Monica Height on everything. Height is HEIDT. And then if you want to find Spooky Tuesday, our horror movie podcast, it comes out every Tuesday on every platform that you can imagine. We do YouTube video episodes as well, but on social media, you can find us at spooky_Tuesday. And if you want a one-stop shop, go to spookytuesdaypod.com.
Awesome. So follow her. She and the gals are amazing. Thanks for coming on again, Monica.
Of
And
course.
yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again.